you so much. Thank you. I don't know whether I have the full view of the audience or narrow portion of it, but it's still lovely to meet all of you. And I think this is the closest I can get to Delhi now. So I'm going to be happy with that. I'm connecting with all of you from London. This is where I live now, in a pretty nice and beautiful place called Harrow on the Hill, which is literally on top of a hill. So there's a good view of the entire city from here. It's not too much of a British place, which means it has a lot of Indian outlets here. And there are, in fact, two Indian restaurants just close to my house. One is called Mumbai Vada Pav, so which makes me feel close to home. And the other one is called Delhi Butter Chicken, because the unique names that they figure out here. And but both these restaurants have something in common. They've added the word authentic before that, so it's called Authentic Mumbai Vada Pav, Authentic Delhi. So, which is what should make you a little more cautious, isn't it? The moment someone says authentic, it means it's probably not. Just like some of our evaluators, the more they praise you, it means you've got to take your speech with a pinch of salt. All right, but fantastic to connect with all of you. I would love to make this session more about you and less about me. So feel free to ask any questions that you may have with respect to me, public speaking, professional speaking, your career growth through Toastmasters, and all of that. So let me try to take as less time as possible and give the baton back to all of you who I'm sure will come up with some fantastic questions. When I was thinking of this topic, accelerating career growth, I got reminded of when I started Toastmasters literally 14 years ago, when I was still in the final year of my engineering college. So I'd just graduated. I'd got into an IT job in a company called Cognizant. And like any of you Toastmasters there, you don't want to get restricted to behind a desk, working 8, 9 hours a day, not really interacting and unleashing your potential on stage. So I grew wary about my job. But fast forwarding today, I am fortunate to be literally a globe-trotting management consultant, living by my suitcase, which I love. A professional speaker who has an opportunity to impact thousands of people literally every week, and a social mentor who loves to take on projects on leadership, coaching, and a lot of those things. A lot of what has brought me here is thanks to Toastmasters. The reason I'm saying that is to relate it back to Toastmasters. And when I think about it, looking from this ivory cupboard, I can distill it down to three specific skills that you can take out of your Toastmaster meeting, which fortunately I did. That has helped me in my own career, not just in my speaking career, but also helped me in my consulting career, which is a lot to do with business management and leadership as much as it got to do with teaching and speaking. So I'm just going to list three small short points without boring you too much, and then I'm going to let it open for question and answers. Is that fine? Raise your hand if that's fine. So I'm just going to list three small short points without boring you too much, and then I'm going to. Sorry, I couldn't hear that. Was that a question?
No, no, no.
Okay. All right. Sure. Great. So let's move on. The first skill that you should use your Toastmasters meeting, which on retrospection seems like something that's benefited me the most beyond my technical skills, my MBA, and a lot of other things, is the ability to take complex ideas and distill it into clear and simple messages. Now, what does that mean? When you speak about business growth, when you speak about the VUCA world, when you speak about strategy, when you speak about life or love, and all of these motherhood topics, it's very difficult for you to communicate what's in your mind to your audience, whether it be a boardroom or one-on-one discussion, or whether it be in front of an audience, without having distortions in it. Now, with or without your own knowledge in Toastmasters, every week we practice just that. We're taking topics which are so generic in nature, complex in nature, like life, like failures, like tough incidents or failures in your own life, and trying to convey it in 5 to 7 minutes. What we don't appreciate is that this is the skill that the real world looks for as well. If you can present to your client in 5 to 7 minutes about your client's relationship with your company or where you want to take this relationship to, in a way that it's both impactful, appealing, yet content heavy, it does your career great good, right? And I'm a testimony to that because I do that every day in my career. So the ability to take complex topics or complex ideas and distill it in a way that everybody understands is a skill that's rooted in Toastmasters, and it's a skill that's most required in your professional life, irrespective of your profession as well. A simple litmus test that I learned to use to ask myself whether what I speak is distilling complexity into simplicity is ask myself, if I were to explain this to a 15-year-old teenager, or if I were to explain this idea to my grandmom, who probably is 90 years old, would it still make intuitive sense to them? Of course, they may not understand the technicalities behind it, but would they be able to understand the logical flow of ideas that I have? And if I can make a 15-year-old or an 8-year-old understand my essential core idea of what I'm trying to communicate, then I've indeed I've indeed distilled complexity into certain simple component parts. So when you come to your Toastmaster meeting, view it from the lens of this. So am I able to take complex ideas or difficult ideas or profound ideas which can't be really communicated in a word or a sentence? Am I able to, through my own scripting, convey it into a logical flow and simple ideas which anybody would understand? Right. So that's the first way you can use Toastmasters in your own careers, because wherever you go, whether it be dealing with customers, dealing with superiors, dealing with clients, dealing with ideas, strategies, the world is moving to such a more volatile, globalized world that any person who's able to communicate complexity in simple ways is going to reap dividends out of it. The second skill that I learned in Toastmasters was the ability to hold your head high and communicate with confidence with people who are not like you. What I mean is, when I joined Toastmasters, I was 19 years old. And at that time, in 2005, there was just one club in the state that I belonged to. And there were probably no clubs in many other states as well. The average age of Toastmasters in that club was, I remember, 40 or 45. It was at that time a lot of corporate trainers, a lot of older folks as compared to where I was then. In a year, because I was a Toastmaster junkie, like I'm sure a lot of you sitting here, I was made the president of the club. And here I was, a 20-year-old, being the president of the club, where my VP education and all of them were about 40 years old. There were a few incidents in the club which perplexed me. I would get a call from a 50-year-old man telling me that there was this another middle-aged woman who was not behaving in the Toastmaster decorum, that I should fire her from the club. And she would call me and say, no, this guy should, and I was like, auntie, uncle. That's how I used to see them, because they were probably nearly the age of my parents. But though I might have made a lot of good or bad decisions, it taught me dexterity with which to handle people who I would have never handled at that age in my life. When I entered the workforce, without my own knowledge, that ability helped me a lot. Today, I deal with people with at least 15 different nationalities on a daily basis. I deal with people from the age of 20 to 60 in the different things I do, both professionally and non-professionally. And I deal with people of all kinds of boundaries. And this ability helps me build a connect with different kinds of people. So, how do you use your Toastmasters meeting? Try to talk to, interact with, build relationships with people who are not like you in any way. It could be age, gender, it could be any stereotypes that you associate yourself with. And that's going to truly accelerate your career growth, especially because you don't have a choice to be localized in Delhi or in India anymore. You may be sitting out of a place, but you're truly connected in a global world, and that's going to accelerate your career, especially with all the technology and AI that the world is going to be working with. The third and last point, and then I'm going to stop myself after that. I'm going to open it out for questions. Is Toastmasters taught me, and it can teach each one of you, the most important skill, as rated by so many HR companies in this HR consulting firms in this world, called resilience. Now, what is resilience? Resilience is how quickly or easily you're able to bounce back from failures or setbacks, right? I remember when I first lost my Toastmaster speech contest in 2007 in my club contest, where four of us contested, and I wasn't in the top three. So I knew what place I got. I felt truly a failure. But in 2015, when I won six different levels to go all the way to the World Championship in Las Vegas, and I got number two, I didn't feel an iota of sadness or anxiety. I felt so comfortable because I thought it was an opportunity to learn again. And that comfort led me to compete again at the club level right in 2017. And so many well-wishers told me, Aditya, you're number two in the world. The only place to go ahead is number one. So what if you lose at the area level or division level? What are people going to think? But Toastmasters at that time had built up so much resilience in me towards failure that it didn't matter. And because it didn't matter, I won all over again and went to Vancouver again to the finals of the World Championship of Public Speaking. But I didn't place this time. Does that mean that I won't try again? Oh, I can if I have the time. March 21st, this Thursday, is my club contest in London, and I've given up my name to competing in the international speech contest again. And that's because of the resilience that Toastmasters offers. Initially, you want to blame the judges if you don't win. You want to blame your fellow contestants if you don't win. You feel if that one person in your club doesn't compete, I would be the world champion. It's because of that one better speaker in your club that's holding you back, unleashing your potential. But then over time, Toastmasters makes you take ownership of your own shortcomings and work on what truly matters, which is your skill development, which is uplifting your own self in terms of your leadership and public speaking skills. And this directly correlates to how good you're at work. Because at work, I have faced many setbacks and failures, but I've always been able to bounce back faster and draw it back to my own personal change rather than blaming it on a bad boss or a bad organization because of the skill that Toastmasters taught me about resilience. So when you compete next time or when you participate in your club meetings next time, use failures as a bouncing board to build that resilience that's not just going to help you in Toastmasters, but mainly outside of Toastmasters. I want to conclude by quoting this beautiful line that the first woman international president of Toastmasters said many years ago. He said, you don't join Toastmasters to become better at Toastmasters. You join Toastmasters to become better outside of Toastmasters. And I invite all of you to use Toastmasters as the springboard to accelerate your career growth because that's the reason you joined, isn't it? I'm going to pause now and open it up to questions. Feel free to ask any type of questions from any topic. I'll be glad to answer.
Will you go on to him down there? No, we'll make him see you. Okay. Should I just speak loudly? Yeah, sure. Okay.
Or you can just type in English.
Just see her. See her.
Shout.
Hi Aditya, Himanshu this side. Good to see
Hi,
you
Manchini.
again.
How are you? Good to see you again.
Yeah. I have a question. So I understand that there are a lot of benefits to, being in the Toastmasters meetings and taking all of the value that is out of there, out of the meetings. However, are there any distinct and unique benefits to competing in the different competitions and contests that are out there, like international speech contest, evaluation contest, TT contest? What are the distinct benefits out of just competing in those contests?
Good. That's a good question because you do the same speech at the club meetings. Why compete specifically? One is, of course, it tickles your own vanity to get a trophy. But beyond that, contesting does two things. One is it accelerates skill development. How many times have you taken a club project speech, repeated it 6 times, and trying to get feedback every single time to make it better? Never. We move on to the next project. So we have a set of half-baked speeches, which are all 80% good, but none of which we have pushed it to make it 100% good. Contests allow you to do that. It makes you take a speech at the club level. Hopefully, if you win it, you improve it at the area level. You make it finer and more polished at the division level. And you discover that end of the day, it was not about the initial topic or theme. It's the hard work that goes into it that makes a speech spectacular. Every speech that you see at the world championship level has been practiced, researched at least 10 to 15 times because of the levels that it's been through. And after you do that, people around you call you a fantastic speaker. The truth is, you are the same speaker. It's just that you've spent more time on a single speech to make it spectacular. So that's what contest does for you. And number two, contest teaches you skills, as I said just a few minutes ago, that a normal Toastmaster meeting may not always teach you, which is the feeling of failure, the feeling of losing, the feeling of taking charge, which is very important. So, statistically speaking, I've realized that one round of contesting from the club level, say at least to the division or district level, is equal to a couple of years of learning in Toastmasters. So it accelerates your learning curve. So whether you win or not, compete because it's anyway going to help you out. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have another question.
Hi Aditya. Hi Aditya, Prashant.
Hi Prashant, how are you?
Good. So Aditya, it was good to hear from you about the benefits of Toastmasters that you've read through, the soft skills that we have honed, the leadership skills that you have honed, your journey as a contestant. But what I wanted to know specifically, and also sticking to the topic that we have at hand today, which is like accelerating career growth through Toastmasters.
Yeah.
Is there anything specific you highlighted from your Toastmasters journey to your consulting fraternity that also helped you become probably an evangelist more than just a consultant?
Evangelist for Toastmasters, you mean?
I mean, was there any direct benefit that you saw in coming in your career from this in terms of the visibility that you were getting through this medium?
You know, there was a time a decade ago or so, you could use the brand Toastmasters to your advantage and get through many things in life because nobody had heard of it literally 10 years ago. So when you say Toastmasters, you know, California, world renowned, when I was applying to Indian School of Business, ISB, I remember saying Toastmasters, and these guys were, wow, he's one in a million types. But when you do Toastmasters now, it's every third person, and that's a good thing, is a Toastmaster. So you got to use Toastmasters beyond just being a paid member of Toastmasters, right? Just by telling your potential boss or recruiter or B school saying I'm a Toastmaster is not going to get you anywhere today because that's just paying your renewals makes you a Toastmaster. You got to think of what is it about Toastmasters that you want to communicate to your potential recruiter or boss. I remember when I got back from Las Vegas after winning the first runner-up at the World Championship of Public Speaking, the first thing I had to, I thought I'll get back to work and everybody's going to be giving me like a World Cup victory kind of standing ovation. But my boss called me to his cabin and said, you took leave for 2 weeks. There's so much of pending work to do. There is so much of pending work to do. I want you to work this weekend and complete all of that. Then it suddenly brought me back to earth and realized for me it was a beautiful plaque or trophy, but for my boss who's a non-Toastmaster, it's just a piece of glass. He's paying me at the end of the day and he wants me to do my job well. So at that point in time is when I stopped telling anybody about me as a Toastmaster or me as a good speaker, and told myself that I would say the same thing through action by delivering better client speeches, by becoming a creme de la creme consultant. So when I came to London here, I've told no person that I'm a Toastmaster at work or I can give amazing speeches. But through action, by seeing me on stage, by seeing me in front of clients, they have come and asked me, have you invested time earlier in your life on speaking or public speaking? Because you seem to do it in a different style, a much more impactful way than other people are able to do it. And then I told them, hey, you know what? I've been part of Toastmasters, which is a fantastic organization. And then their eyes lit up to say, can I be part of it as well? So it's a difference between projecting yourself as Toastmaster and expecting a job to using your skills in Toastmasters and making people tell you, you must be a Toastmaster if you speak that way. That builds our brand as well. That's also the difference between becoming a DTM and becoming distinguished. DTM is a batch. You do 40 speeches. Being distinguished needs to be earned from others. Being a CC is 10 speeches, but being competent requires skill. So I would always invite you to focus on the latter and let the world do the talking, saying you're Toastmasters, because that's the best brand advertisement for Toastmasters, because you are the product. You're not just the person in the product. Yeah, hope that answers your question.
Yes, yes, sure.
Yes.
It's okay. Hi, Aditya. I'm Ruben.
Hi.
It was lovely listening to you. And the question that I have is pretty much in line with what you just said, the answer that you just gave. I come from a technical background, which, like, I'm an architect, and my job doesn't really require me to speak per se. What do you think, or what one suggestion that you can give to people who come from a technical background? Like, there's no training involved, there's no public relations, there's no communication involved in my job. But what is it that I can do as a product of Toastmasters to project better at work and just like we are talking about today, accelerate my career growth?
Sure, that's a terrific question because 80% of the world doesn't require to get on stage and give a moving speech. However, if you look at the level of desires, and in Sanskrit it's called vasana, which means what is my predominant desire? It always may not match to the job that you're in. The fact that you're here in a Toastmaster meeting and not everybody else who are architects says that you have certain desire to create impact with your stakeholders. So you may continue to be an architect all your life, but you can use Toastmasters to vent out that those other things that you need, which your job probably doesn't provide you with, as a platform. You don't really need to therefore jump into professional speaking as a profession. You can still be an architect because I'm sure you draw a lot of energy from that as well. However, you can balance it out by being in Toastmasters, where you can interact, speak, and bring life to your ideas, which otherwise your daily job may not allow you to. But if you want to integrate your job as well as being in front of audiences, creating impact, then you can find ways to specialize deeper as an architect, get opportunities to speak in conferences or become a thought leader in your expertise, and thereby start teaching others or speaking in conferences that again requires Toastmaster skills. A lot of people after a decade or so as an expert in a field move to more broad roles, a general management role or a consultant role. At that time, you can't really go to a Toastmaster meeting and learn speaking. What you do now is going to benefit you when you get there. And that's really the anchor with which you've got to look at Toastmasters.
Thank you, that ends.
There's a question from YouTube. Hi, Aditya. Aditya, hi, Ruben. You can't see me, just imagine I'm here.
Yes,
So, there's a question.
No, the timer was holding the red card right in front of your face. That's it. Yeah.
That card is down. Hidden behind the red card. So, Aditya Faiz Hussain asks, any trick you generally use in contests?
100 rupees to each of the judge. Okay. Any trick? If only it was that simple, Rupinder. Well, calling it a trick, well, I mean, in a tactical sense, yes, I like to leave spaces between my script where I can impromptu use something that I heard from the previous speakers, or talk about the larger conference theme, where the judges feel, wow, it's so impromptu, he must have done it on stage. But I've actually curated my script in a way that I've left blank spaces, which is part of my 7-minute speech. It's not an extension. So people often tell me, why, how do you do that so well, yet finish a speech on time? That's because I've left spaces in my speech where I can pick up instances from the previous speakers, or the theme of the conference, or somebody sitting in front of me in the audience, and all of that, right? But from a larger point of view, what's the trick, or the secret sauce, or the road to El Dorado in the holy grail of international speech contests? I think it's we learn a lot initially in Toastmasters that makes us very Toastmaster-ish, and that's why if you show the World Championship videos to a lot of non-Toastmasters, they may even laugh and say, "Are these speeches that are worthy enough to go to the finals? My friends speak better than this. What have you guys been trained on?" So the idea that I have at least learned from 2014 in Kuala Lumpur to Las Vegas to Vancouver, and continuing it now, is how can I be the same speaker on stage, off stage, before coming on stage, after getting out of stage? Like the way I'm speaking to you now is the same energy and cadence and hand gestures with which I would want to speak on stage at a World Championship stage. I wouldn't want to suddenly become, "My friends, how are you doing? I'm doing well." That becomes a little. That's the bug which we kind of grapple at Toastmasters. So when I brought my friends to my first speech contest, they're like, "Dude, what's wrong with you? You have a nervous breakdown. Why do you behave that way on stage?" But then you not yourself. So if you're able to be the same person, that coherence in your personality on stage, it's like leadership, right? You can't be a leader between 9 to 6 at work and be a terrible person between 6 and 9 in the morning. You got to be, leadership is you, not a hat that you wear. Similarly, the way to ace an international speech contest is to become that level of caliber, irrespective of whether you're contesting or not. If you level of caliber of speaking, whether you're doing a video conference, whether you're talking to your loved one, or whether you're speaking in an international speech contest, you're going to distill complex ideas in a way that people can understand. You're going to connect and emotionally understand what the other person wants. So all of that becomes a byproduct. Spillover of that, you're just doing a 7-hour speech on stage. I think that's the larger trick that all of us need to learn. The 7 minutes on stage is just a spillover of a champion that you've already become, not that 7 minutes as a route to become somebody larger than life. So in a smaller way, yes, the trick is that I leave spaces for impromptu, but in a larger way, it's more of trying to be natural as a speaker. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I think that was because we had 10 minutes. So we would like to thank Aditya for his valuable
Thank you very
time.
much. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Pankaj, you want to ask something?
Yeah, just Aditya, special thanks to you to allow me to use your photograph in my US speech. I had interacted with you and you gave me your kind permission, and now I would like your wishes for the district level championship.
Last permission in public, so I can't take it back.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye,
Aditya.
thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.